Sorry to interrupt you. Your mic isn't on, so the Zoom can. Testing, testing. Kathy, I'm sorry. We're having technical issues, so if you could just hold on 1 second before you start. I'm so sorry to do this to you. Sorry, everybody. Just give us 1 second. Testing, testing. I'm sorry, I had microphones on. So, yeah, it's just. sorry, just give me 5 more minutes and we'll get this sorted. 5 more minutes and we'll sort this out.
Recording in progress.
Testing, testing. Michael. Testing.
Testing. Oh, testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, you can
Hello?
go ahead and start.
Okay. Should we wait?
It's not necessary.
Okay.
but Just send to me. If you can.
With lowercase.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your patience with our technical difficulties here tonight. We hope that you can now hear us. So just to say welcome, thank you so much for participating in this Gemini New Moon meeting with our theme this evening of balancing the pairs of opposites, a key opportunity under the influence of Gemini. So this year, this particular new moon has a heightened impact and therefore a heightened opportunity because it's the final new moon of the auspicious period of the higher interlude of the spiritual year, the interlude of the Aries, Taurus, and Gemini period. And we know that the higher interlude of each month, we're told, is a time when a door between hierarchy and humanity opens.
Press.
And I would think that at the time of the higher interlude, that door opens more widely than is usually the case. And we might even say that that door is open the entire period, because that's the opportunity during the higher interlude. And this particular new moon period, there's an auspicious, very auspicious alignment between 5 planets in the sign of Gemini: the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter. They're all in alignment now, and they're all opposing our Earth, which stands in the sign of Sagittarius. And therefore, we can, at this period, visualize the Earth receiving this tremendous impact of second ray energies of love, wisdom, transmitted into our planet through the Christ and into humanity and all life forms. And it is this love and light which are needed today in our world. And this is just a brief introduction to say that esoterically understood, each sign of the zodiac is governed by 3 planets. We know that. And these planets are the distributing agents for the sign under consideration. And so when we're considering Gemini, those 3 planetary rulers are, on the exoteric level, the planet Mercury, the 4th ray planet, which characterizes the higher or intuitive mind. On the esoteric level, Gemini is governed by the 5th ray planet, Venus, which corresponds to the lower or concrete mind. And the 3rd or hierarchical planet is the Earth. And so we can see how the bridge within consciousness, the Antakarana bridge, is exceedingly highlighted during this particular sign, because Mercury, higher mind, Venus, lower mind. And so that alignment is pouring into our planet. And these 3 planets, we're told by the Tibetan, constitute one of the most important triangles in our whole solar system. And that triangle between Venus, Mercury, and the Earth is highlighted now. And it's particularly auspicious now because of Venus and Mercury both being in the sign of Gemini. So it's a time for tremendous illumination of consciousness being possible. Mercury is related to light. It's related to the Buddha, the God and the messenger of the light. Venus is very much related to the Christ. And so these 2 brothers on the higher turn of the spiral are coming together to cooperate in this festival. And this opportunity of this particular new moon is also highlighted astrologically by what's called a Venus-Sun exact conjunction, which occurred late yesterday, and it continues throughout the next few days, really. So this Venus-Sun conjunction is a time when our soul, our planetary soul, which we're told is Venus, Venus stands as the soul to our Earth. Venus is being illumined by extra planetary, extra systemic forces that are pouring through Venus, the sun, and directly into our planet. So it's a powerful opportunity, to say the least. So in order to start our meeting briefly now, we just want to link up with a brief visualization. We're going to run through this not as a full meditation, which is really what it is, but as a brief prelude to our meeting. And it's called The Sun Upon the Square, Lead Us from Chaos to Beauty. This is a meditation given by the Tibetan, and it's quite apropos to our theme tonight. So imagine the collective consciousness of all of us who are gathered here today, fusing into one united spiritual organism, serving as a mediating point of consciousness between the human kingdom and the kingdom of souls. Now, opening up before the group mind, we see a square or oblong composed of a kaleidoscopic mass of inchoate colors. And these colors are moving, pulsating in a constant, indescribable confusion. And this is really reflective of the outer state of our world. And now superimposed upon this pulsating, indescribable confusion is a radiant sun with a penumbra composed of the 7 prismatic colors. These colors radiate from the sun in regular rhythmic bands, producing a marvelous blaze of color. The background of the square, which is a confusion of color, heavy, lurid in quality, emerges this scheme of beauty that is translucent, delicate, and radiating livingness. But the heavier background can be seen distinctly through the translucence. So let's take a minute to work creatively and imaginatively with this living symbol. We ponder for a minute on the phrase, lead us from chaos to beauty. Visualize the band of prismatic color radiating out from the sun through the group mind and heart, carrying those revelatory energies that are ready to emerge in the world. And we close with the affirmation of love. In the center of all love, I stand. From that center, I, the soul, will outward move. From that center, I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my groups, and throughout the world. And we'll close with one Om. Om. We can hold that visualization in our minds during these challenging times in our planetary life, knowing that we have a role to help build into the chaotic colors of our world, those colors that emanate from the soul, which are subtle in nature. So we can work each time at these interlude periods of the new and full moon by building the qualities of the signs into human consciousness. The Tibetan tells us that's one of our tasks. So we can do that by studying the signs, studying their keynotes, studying the opposite sign to the sign under consideration, because esoterically we know that the signs that are opposing one another have to eventually be merged into a unity. We can study the symbols of the signs, and this work can be aided by a study of esoteric astrology, of the sign under consideration, and also the corresponding chapter in the Labors of Hercules. And as we undertake this each month, over time, we can gradually increase our ability to work more effectively with these planetary energies. That is our task, to build into human consciousness. And so we're working, therefore, in alignment with the hierarchy and the work that they do. So in Gemini, we know that the pairs of opposites are highlighted. And this opportunity of working with the opposites, I thought, was beautifully put by a pre-Socratic Greek philosopher named Heraclitus, who had a major influence on the subsequent later philosophical thought of the Greeks. And he demonstrated an ability to look beyond the pairs of opposites and into that which they veiled. And he said it so beautifully. He said that all things in this world are in flux, but yet they are subject to a unifying measure or a rational principle, which he called logos, or the hidden harmony underlying all outer change. And he said this harmony bound the opposites together in a unified tension that he compared to the harmonious sound that emerges from such opposing forces as the bow playing upon the strings of the lyre. So we can look at our work somewhat as holding that tension of the strings, and therefore creating a harmony beneath all of the outer chaos. And Blavatsky used a similar analogy for the role of the group. She said that the underlying purpose of a spiritual group could be compared to the strings of the lute when they're tuned by the master. And so the new group of world servers working on all the 7-ray lines can, through the medium of the esoteric heart and its invocative appeal, which is us, flood the world with the multifaceted light in which each of the 7-ray lines can contribute its gifts to each of these interlude periods. It's helpful, therefore, to recollect that the pull of the senses, reacting to the turmoil of life in the three worlds, is quelled in time through the emergence of that underlying sound or harmony which Heraclitus spoke of, which issues forth and is able to reflect the inner illumination. Through this means, life in its underlying reality, which substands the outer forms, can begin to come into clearer focus. And through dispassion, we can move together beyond that which is seen and touched and heard, as Patanjali reminds us. Then the fundamental polarity between spirit and matter moves to rest in the middle ground of the soul, and the eventual merging of all the lesser dualities evolves in a natural order and is recognized as part of the natural process of the natural world. Then the pain and struggle of human existence is seen in light of its higher purpose, as part of the initiatory drama through which all forms must pass on the way to liberation. Then that which is coarse and brittle gives way to reveal the dim outlines of the beauty which lies around and which is hovering upon the horizon. This revelation of that which stands all around us and within us is the opportunity standing before the group as we aid humanity to move beyond fear and separation and beyond the pull of the pairs of opposites. All around us we see these poles vibrating with intensity and fraying the fabric of our world. And we're called to use the tools that have been given to us to build bridges within consciousness to aid humanity amidst this outer fragmentation. And at present, surely, partially at least as a result of the stimulation of the passing higher interlude period pouring into the mental body of humanity, we find ourselves in a world wherein the threat of nuclear war is actually on the table. This challenging situation is a manifestation of the passing out of the ray and constellational energies, but also of the pressures being fomented by the coming of the Christ. The forces of opposition on the outer planes are a reaction to the forces of synthesis emanating from Shambhala. So we've been talking about the pairs of opposites in the outer world, but as all of us know as disciples, there are also pairs of opposites that manifest in more subtle ways and that condition the life of the disciple. And some of these opposites to which we are all confronted in our lives are embodied in a mantra of the holy ones. There's various versions of this mantra put forward in the Tibetan's teaching. It was first brought forward by Annie Besant from the Theosophical Society, but it is highlighted by the Tibetan in various versions. And in one of them, which is my favorite one, he gives a listing of these opposites. And he highlights that we are charged as disciples to find contentment no matter which of the poles we might be resonating with at any particular time. So he asks us to find contentment whether we're in the light or the dark, whether we're being called to be active in our lives or passive, whether we're working through a period where we're asked to work or a period where we're asked to wait, or a period where we're asked to speak or a period where we're asked to be silent, a period where we're asked to take praise, or another period where we're faced with reproach. And lastly, a period when we feel sorrow, or another period when we feel joy. So all that matters as we learn to find contentment, struggle perhaps to find contentment in all of those inner types of opposites. The mantra states that our only thing that matters really is our dedication to aid the hierarchy through all of these vicissitudes, if that's the correct word, in our lives. And then we can fill whatever post is empty in the household of the Lord. So it's quite a powerful mantra. And we who stand at the heart center of the new group of world servers hold the task of standing in this center, creating thought forms that do contribute to harmony in the world, and through the evocative ability to call upon and bring down the forces of light. Standing in the balanced center, the group generates a sattvic, soulful energy that can settle the raging forces of opposition and division. So now, working together with the light-filled energies available to us at this new moon, let us work in meditation to do what we can to build those bridges within consciousness that help to reveal the love that underlies the happenings of the time. So we work now with our new moon meditation, strengthening the hands of the group of world servers. Let's just take a minute to link with all of our coworkers throughout the world. We come together in group fusion. I am one with my group brothers, and all that I have is theirs. May the love which is in my soul pour forth to them. May the strength which is in me lift and aid them. May the thoughts which my soul creates reach and encourage them. Alignment. We recognize our place as a group within the heart center of the group of world servers. And we visualize a line of lighted energy and project it towards the spiritual hierarchy, the planetary heart center. And towards the Christ, the heart of love within the hierarchy. And then we extend the alignment toward Shambhala, where the will of God is known. Higher interlude. Hold the mind focused for a few minutes on the planetary role of the group of world servers, mediating between hierarchy and humanity, responding to hierarchical impression, and meditating the plan into existence. Meditation on the seed thought. Through the impression and expression of certain great ideas, humanity must be brought to the understanding of the fundamental ideals which will govern the new age. This is the major task of the group of world servers. precipitation. Visualize the precipitation of the will to good, essential love throughout the planet, from Shambhala to the hierarchy, the Christ, the group of world servers, and through all men and women of goodwill everywhere, and finally into the hearts and minds of the whole human family. Lower interlude. Lifting the consciousness into the periphery of the great ashram. We ponder the working out of love and the power of the one life in our world through members of the group of world servers. Distribution. As the great invocation is sounded, visualize the irradiation of human consciousness with light, love, and power. And we use the adapted great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth.
We can go a bit later since we started so late.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And now we have the opportunity to hear from you and any thoughts you might have on the theme or also on the questions, which you should see on your screen. We could start with the first question and see if anyone has any thoughts. How can the techniques of Raja Yoga be utilized by the new group of world servers in order to foster lines of greater harmony between the nations of the world? And I thought in response to this, it might be interesting also to consider a study of some of the qualifying energies of the countries of the world. So does anyone have any thoughts they'd like to share? Or anyone online can raise your hand or put your questions in the chat box.
Let's do this here.
Lorraine?
Thank you, Kathy. What immediately comes into mind is a group that is based in Germany, but is working for reconciliation. And it's a group comprising people of German nationality, but also bringing together people from the Jewish faith from Israel, but also from Arab countries. So looking at really how through meditation, through research, through intention, they can help to be a beacon of light for deep levels of reconciliation And it as an example, it speaks to me in a way that says wherever we see conflict that might be centuries old or more recent, decades old, or even in the moment, the more we can bring together the parties, the representation of that and the spirit of that, then we can move to harmony, which you were referencing earlier, the sense of in which love and harmony is present if we can move away the veils that are getting in the way. So this is what came to mind.
Thank you. Are they actually bringing the people together on the physical plane, or is it?
Yes. So they work online, and as many groups do, but periodically they physically come together, and they also go out to Jerusalem and meditate and work and research together out there, and so it's an active work, not it's something very dynamic, I would say.
What's the name of the group?
It's the Hechal group.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know of?
Yes.
But that's expanded now to focus on the soul of Germany.
Yeah.
So the work it's added other people in, and it's now working on the soul of Germany as redemption sounds too strong, but it's a process of reconciliation that can allow the healing that is needed, not just for Germany as a nation, but for all that have been touched through the recent history, through the Second World War, obviously, and the First World War.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, it's interesting in the theme of harmony, because in regard to what you've just said, because Germany is ruled by a fourth ray soul, which, as we know, the harmony through conflict. So perhaps everything Germany's been through, eventually it surely will bring about some harmony, probably some new music. They're quite good at that kind of harmony. Does anyone online have any?
No, not right now.
Mighty.
When I was listening to your talk, Kathy, three words came to me. One is detachment, the other one is responsibility, the other one is process. I very much like what Heraclitus was saying about flux. I humbly call it process. We are always in process. And I think we need to take responsibility for that process and to detach from the stages of the process, because if we become attached, then we crystallize and we don't allow the process to happen. And I believe that the synthesis among nations that we're looking for and that this question asks about can only happen when we can have synthesis at all levels. Personal synthesis, transpersonal synthesis, group synthesis, national synthesis, and then maybe global synthesis. Of course, all of the levels at the same time. We cannot wait for one to be achieved to move to the other. But I think at all those levels, we need to accept that we are in flux. And let the process happen without getting attached to the short-term outcome of the process, because that's when we stop the process and the process will take longer. And also about responsibility, so that we work out the outcome of that process rather than hoping that others would do it. Like, we need to be that change rather than expecting others to produce change for us. We are the ones making that change through the opposites. I always say that the key word in the harmony through synthesis or harmony through the opposites is through, because there is no other way but through.
That's like the bridge.
That is the bridge. And in that through, I think we need detachment from outcome. Let the process happen and take responsibility for it. when we're able to do that individually and in groups, then we will be able to help the nations of the world do it as well.
Yeah, because we don't necessarily know what the answers are. It's like
No.
you say, it's a process.
That's right.
And if it's coming from a higher source, yeah, we have to be open to
Yeah.
new things.
That's right. And 2,000 years ago, the pre-Socratic philosopher already had that wisdom
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah,
It's wonderful.
I know.
It's in the roots of our civilization.
Yeah.
There is a hand here, but I need to just sync this speaker before we can. So it's gonna make a weird sound. Sorry. Okay, Peter looks real. Looks real.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Oh, I'm having some trouble.
Sorry, go ahead. Try again.
Yeah, thank you. I guess when we look at the world situation, fundamentally speaking, we think about our collective as a single civilization going through the process of maturation, spiritually speaking. It is, I think, in my opinion, I think it's important to understand how we deal with the energy of chaos. And the point is that there are certain things that are inevitable during the development of a civilization, and chaos is part of it. But how do we deal with the energy when it arises? Because it's inevitable that just like a baby would fall and stumble until it works. It's the same thing with developing a civilization that goes through a process where it begins to bring out the shadows. The aspect of how we handle it is that we are able not to give energy or not to flame the fire, so to speak. We're able to transmute the energy of chaos into that of love and wisdom. And how we do that is that we are not sort of shaken or moved because the last speaker said, we fundamentally understand that we are not attached to the physical, because the physical is a reflection of our consciousness. And because we're not attached to the physical aspects of being, we do not place judgment on experience. You look at the Garden of Eden. Why did the energy, the Kundalini, the energy dropped to the level of you shall crawl on your belly? Because they placed judgment on experience in the Garden of Eden. So when we are going through an experience, the shadows are rising. We don't place judgment, but we nurture that chaotic energy by transmuting it into love, wisdom. Maybe that's the answer to the question of Raja Yoga, but in line with what the new group of world servers can do is to understand how to nurture energies. The point is that each one of us is supposed to be masters of different aspects of energy. And so as things arise, we begin to say, how can we transmute them into what our fundamental the personality of our soul type is. Each one of us is contributing to the collective by the format or the construct of our soul. And so we look at those energies, and some people are responsible for bringing the energy of belief, faith. Some others are responsible for bringing love, wisdom, and different aspects. But again, I think the point is that the synthesis is being able to see that chaotic energy and being able to bring things back in alignment and order, not by fanning the flame or by increasing that negative polarity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I had I wanted to just share a few points about the situation in the world between two nations using the information given out by the Tibetan in Destiny of the Nations, because these two nations are, of the major nations, some of the most young nations of the world. And of course, I'm speaking of the United States, which is still adolescent in its evolutionary development, and Russia, which is also on one level quite young. And both these nations are not fulfilling their potential. They're not living up to their keynotes. The keynote of the United States is, I light the way. the keynote of Russia is "I link two ways." And both of these nations will, the Tibetan says, one day fulfill these high keynotes. But right now, both nations are succumbing, it seems, more to personality aspects. And so it just might be interesting for us to look at the nations from a different perspective instead of seeing them as warring brothers, because they are both governed. Part of the main issue at this time is that they're both governed at the personality level by the sixth ray. And the sixth ray, as we know, is the ray energy that is passing out with the Piscean age. And as an energy passes out, it can tend towards fundamentalism. And we know that there's also big propaganda machines in both of the countries, which are fomenting the difficulties in this situation. So it's interesting to see that if we look a little more deeply behind that warring brothers, in this sign of Gemini, there's the two brothers. We can also see that on the higher level, they are soul brothers. On a higher level, they are, one is controlled by the second ray soul of love, wisdom, the United States. And it's ruled, we're told, by the sign of Aquarius, the incoming energy of the new age. So this second ray soul corresponds perfectly with the esoteric ruler of Aquarius, which is Jupiter, the second ray sacred planet. So at a soul level, the United States is completely attuned with the incoming energies of Aquarius. And, not so coincidentally, Russia is also governed at a soul level by Aquarius. But it is ruled at a soul level not by the second ray, like the United States, but by the seventh ray, which is the ray governing the exoteric energy of the sign of Aquarius. So if you look at these two nations from that perspective, they both, the solution can come as they rise to their higher spiritual possibilities through their Aquarius. Both share Aquarius rising, both share a ray energy that is reflected in that rising sign. Seventh ray, second ray. So I do believe, and the Tibetan does predict, that by 1935, the nations, 2035, by 2035, the nations of the world will have come together in a global agreement for the protection of children, and that this will be implemented by Russia and supported by the United States. So if this is supposed to happen on a global level, by 2035, we know that it's going to start to be underway somewhat before that. And so that's not in the very distant future. So there's great hope that these warring brothers will come together for the purposes of global cooperation for the protection of children. And certainly it won't be limited to that. But we can see that there is hope on the horizon, and we shouldn't be too caught up in the machinations of the Cold War mentality, the sixth ray personalities, which are governing. And, as Lorraine mentioned, with the Hekal group, they're trying to bring the people together. There is no dialogue, as far as we're told through our media. During this whole war in Ukraine, there's no dialogue between these two ruling nations of the world, and so hopefully there is some dialogue between smaller groups of people that are working to bring these nations together. Maya?
I don't know if you can hear me from here. As you're talking about this, I'm just thinking about how much in the last year or two in the States, what's come into public consciousness. Can you hear me?
Yeah, just
they
for
can-
them.
I think they can hear you fine.
Yeah.
now.
Oh,
Is
okay.
the amount of sex trafficking of children.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that the U.S. is one of the worst culprits of
Exactly.
that. So it's interesting, as on a personality level, we're completely hypocritical in the practice versus the ideal.
Yeah.
And it's true, Russian gangsters are some of the worst traffickers of people on the planet. So when you say that, it immediately makes me think, in the next 10 years, there's a big movement in religious groups
Yeah.
in the US, and we know that Russia has a role to play in leading humanity on the spiritual, in terms of religion.
Yeah.
So I could see, as you're saying that, this synthesis happening in the next 10 years, driven by the religious communities
Yeah.
to walk our talk
Yeah.
and rescue the children from these very dangerous elements within our own cultures.
Yes.
So that was just something that came to mind as you were speaking.
Thanks so
about
much. Lorraine.
I was, thank you, Maya. I was very struck by what you said there, and one of the key words for me that you brought forward was the word to lead, because when I think about this 10-year period, 11 years that you're
Mhm.
talking about, one of the big crises I see in the world is one of leadership.
Mhm.
And we can look to leadership as being someone up there. So we want our presidents or our prime ministers or our religious leaders, we want them to be better leaders, and we have the right to want that and to expect that. But like all things, we have to be those leaders. So whether it's a
Mhm.
church congregation, or whether it's a group of people in business, or whether it's teachers in education, they're not, you were saying about, not getting caught up in the things that are not going so well, Kathy, and I think that's right. The real act of leadership is to step into our power,
Mhm.
and to step into the power through the heart,
Mhm.
and act from there, and take the courage that we need in order to step up. And we've seen more activism. I say more, it's been around obviously for decades, but we're seeing activism emerging again on another level. So I think finding our own expression of leadership through the heart at every level, and particularly in the World Server Group, we can't sit behind the shadows. We have to be visible in the active sense, in my view. So that's an act of leadership.
Or even more so, not being in the shadows, but confronting our shadows.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because as you were talking, what I was thinking is there's a big movement right now. Hollywood is the heart center of our nation. And you can see that example is very conflicted. We all know how much has been coming out of Hollywood about the Me Too movement. And now it's becoming obvious that the children have been as affected by the Hollywood industry as women. But that's also where there's a tremendous movement happening, mostly amongst evangelical actors in
Mhm.
Hollywood,
Mhm.
who are taking a stand in the community to say, I'm going to represent another quality in this community other than the one of predatory sexuality.
Mhm.
And so there's a lot happening there right now. Actors who are taking a stand, presenting their opposing views, and trying to protect rather than exploit people there.
Yeah.
I'd just like to share one point, sort of more back related to this question one, Kathy, and also before I do that, just thank you so much for the presentation for this theme. A lot of our work in meditation and our subjective work does seek to work with the underlying causes behind these problems, and there's a way which we can reason through to those causes and the way they exist on a more like human level. There's a lot of activity which humanity has initiated. We've gotten ourselves into a lot of these messes. But the Ageless Wisdom teaches that even behind human activity, there is profound karma that this planet is dealing with. And a lot of the evil on our planet actually has to do with a special karma between our current Earth chain and the Moon chain. And so that's actually really incomprehensible to us in reality. The Tibetan also says with regard to conflict that humanity is destined to learn through divine discontent and through pain and sorrow, and that's part of our planet's karma. And so reflecting on that does put things into perspective in one sense. It, not saying that humanity hasn't gotten off track at all, of course, but it's much bigger than just us. And I think in that recognition also comes a key to the solution. And we can reflect on the role that humanity is to play in this larger life. And that becomes, we start wading into the field of academic occultism a little bit, which is really inaccessible to some people, or just not very, not that they're not able to comprehend it, but that it's just not practically meaningful to them. To me, it is very instructive. And just to describe briefly, though, humanity in our highest spiritual sense, as in a monadic sense, exist as basically these great cosmic centers of vitality, these cosmic etheric centers within this great life. And we're not just the cosmic etheric centers, we're actually that will within the center that directs the cosmic vitality into expression in the three worlds. And so there's a bit more to it than that, and perhaps that's sort of not a good description, but if you reflect on what that means to be the group of lives which direct cosmic vitality into expression on the physical plane, the whole idea of our nations and the way they're supposed to interact together, and the way we as individuals are supposed to interact within those nations, it just the possibility and I guess what I'm trying to say is, behind all of our problems there's this great purpose, and it just seems it's so much greater than the problems that we have to face, and I just don't see how something so grand couldn't right all the wrongs in the world, And this question of Raja Yoga, I mean, all this happens on the plane of mind. And so that's where all these, and it's all about polarity, really, when you look at occultism. It's about switching polarities, the astral becoming, negative to the mental plane instead of positive, et cetera, all on and throughout all the huge, concatenation of forces in which we live. And so, humanity, from that, when we work as a mind, it's fiery energies, and so it creates more conflict in a way, but it's that sort of creative activity which is also in a sense everything working out too. And so I'm blabbering now, so I'm going to cut myself off. But
well, what you said really is reflective of our role as the planetary Mercury.
Precisely,
we are Mercury, and so if we ponder what Mercury does in the solar system, in my understanding, it's the transmuter. It's the transmuting agent of all the energies pouring through the sun, which are too powerful if they were let loose into our solar system. They have to be transmuted by Mercury, and that's what humanity has to do on a planetary level. All of that etheric energy pouring through from the higher centers through humanity, our role is to step it down, transmute it, so it can be distributed.
And he's the messenger of the gods.
He's the messenger.
So, talks to all the gods. Can receive from all the gods.
That's right.
It's a mediator.
Yeah.
The new group of voice servers are playing the same role here.
Right.
And there's a great polarity, hierarchy and humanity.
Yeah.
And if humanity causes the trouble, humanity will have to correct the problem. We
Yes.
have to pay for it. We have to solve it. And Raja Yoga is union. So the use of the mind in achieving union.
Yeah.
And the new group of voice servers has a tremendous role to play. I don't think there has been such an opportunity in the world. And it is very impressive when we see groups of people in power, doing things and then you talk of the new group of well servers, and most of them are part of the new group of well servers. But we who are in so many groups all over the world, recognizing that we are part of the groups within the heart center of the new group of well service, gives us a unique and important aspect of the work, because we say radiance we are, and power. So the new group of well service is actually radiatory in a powerful way. So all their work subjectively is actually bringing this radiation of unity and affecting every substance within the threefold worlds of human existence, affecting vitality, affecting feelings, emotions, aspiration, desires, affecting thinking, concrete thoughts and everything, and subjecting all of this to the radiation that is the soul. That radiation, the quality of that radiation is unity. So that radiation, as it emanates from each and every member of the new group of well service, whether in the heart center, near the heart center of that group, or on the periphery, that radiation emanates and affects substance within the world. And how does it affect that substance? It makes that substance receptive to tendency to unify in thinking, in aspiration, in vital activity. So this unifying potency is playing through each and every member of the new group of well service, whether conscious or unconscious. And therefore the new group of well service is performing a great yogic activity, because Raja Yoga is the yoga of the mind. The soul is on the plane of mind. The quality, one of the major qualities of the soul is unification, the power to unify. Therefore it stands between the hierarchy and humanity. And the new group of well service are bringing this unifying radiatory potency, touching everything. Where there's evil, where there's hatred, that potency, that energy emanates, penetrates through that zone, and then the tendency towards unity begin to appear. So every morning as we meditate, as we recite those many mantras, we are consciously bringing a certain unifying power, which is going to influence thinking of leaders, thinking of CEOs, powerful men and women in the world, to move towards the tendency of unification. And that gives us a great opportunity for service.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Probably time, we've gone a little bit over tonight, but thank you all, and thank you all online, and thank you all here for your contributions. We can just close with a brief moment of silence, followed by the Om. Thank you, and I just forgot that I should announce the next meeting will be the Cancer full moon, the first Cancer full moon, because we have two this year. And that will be on Friday, June 21st at 6 p.m. And then the Cancer new moon will be on Friday, July 5th, also at 6 p.m. Thank you so much.